where we were and potentially what's at risk for holding and moving forward. So let me start off with weekly. I think we know where February is, right? And then we know where the February recent high was. The balance was 15, 5, 1, 2, 3. I don't know why I want to keep saying 15, 1, 2, 3, but it's 5, 1, 2, 3 was our previous, and that's your February high. So that makes it what? If you think about the balance we had, right? This was the balance where we held, and then we also had the February value area high at the bottom where we bounced from, right? There's too many shorts piled up here. And then, of course, you had the kind of like a little bit of a short covering rally, and we pushed higher. So now when you look at the data, right, what would you guys think the reference point is on a weekly time frame that they have to hold? If this was our previous week balance right here, so what level do you not want them to break?
The top of the green box.
Yeah, 5, 1, 2, 3. That's the level. That would indicate weakness, right? And that's our weekly breakout because we've spent some serious time in that area, right? Pretty much the whole week we are below it, below, and then we cracked and popped much higher, right? So that's going to be a key pivot. If we are to come to this level, they can definitely, dip in here. So you got to watch for this 1275 level as well, just to be on the safe side. But 23 would indicate a lot of weakness and most likely will target probably around 5100 if that happens. On Friday, there was not a lot of opportunities if you missed some of these. They did not give you a lot of, I would say, pullbacks where you can take the trades and, just relax. You had to be really accurate on your entries in terms of, bullish run because the pullbacks were minimal and they did not really pull back to any levels where you're like, oh man, this is a good entry. It was pretty, hard to gauge a level and trust it, right? As you're pushing higher, they didn't really retrace much. Not many candles here in 30 minutes had a lower low, so they just kept pushing forward. Now, when you look at the TPOs, right, on your daily, there's a couple of levels. I don't know if you guys did the homework yet, but there's a couple of levels of interest, and they're all marked in the blue dotted for me here. As this thing comes up, basically there's a couple of single prints that we had on ES, and I'm pretty sure same would be said on NQ, and that's what you want to pay attention to, right? Your intraday levels will be this 39 to 38.75. Can anyone imagine why would that level be important? How about if I give you this now and I zoom in? So what is this indicating here?
It's the top of the single prints.
So this here would be the separation of your, because there's a lot of poor structure whenever you have a run up or trend day. Some people are like, oh man, this is just horrific. Well, they don't want to spend time at lower prices or volume. Therefore, you're not going to have neither, right? So now the crucial piece is, can they hold this 38.75? And to be honest, I'm not sure if they tested. Okay, well, they tested it here right at open at 7 o'clock. They came right through it. If you're to crack this level here, there's a high chance that you would go where next? What would be the next level you guys target below 38.75? I mean, simply it would be 5, 1, 2, 3. If you draw your volume profile here, let's say from here to the top, you have some high volume nodes, but this is really bad structures, right? So they don't really have much till they come probably all the way up to 15, not 15, 5, 1, 2, 3, till they come here. And then there's on time, there's a little node here. You guys see it? So I would definitely target this little area if they are to crack below that. And then you see if they are to crack, let's say this 5, 1, 2, 3, what would you expect to see then? Well, then you have 5, 1, 2, right? And then you also have what here in the B period? Same scenario. So the day is separated in a couple of distributions. If you go below this one, you're going to build value here between 40 and 11, which is pretty good range. Then if you crack below that, you have some access here on the bottom. I'm not sure. I think this was my open marking here. you have a little bit of excess low here, not a lot, about 4 TPOs that you'd be targeting to visit, right? And if you guys recall, does this 102 ring a bell at all from last week?
Yep.
Yep, that was our level for breakout, if you guys recall. If you're able to pop over 102, we were targeting an all-time high. The week prior to that was, or a couple of days prior to last week, I'm not sure when, it was at 94.5, and then we shifted it once they cracked this. We said 102 is the last line of defense, and then they popped it. So tomorrow, to me, this is fairly simple. You crack below here, you're looking to place your stop entry somewhere about, if you give it, if you're playing this, for instance, short right here, you can give it a few more points. Maybe you can give it, if you get an entry at 38, maybe play it above this POC somewhere. Depends how volatile it is overnight and tomorrow. But there's a lot of events coming up. JPOW speaks twice. I think there's also PMI data being released. Let's see. So tomorrow we have Harker, PMI, factory orders, and then there's a bunch of speakers, right? And don't forget total vehicle sales. So I'll definitely watch this, and you're playing in the all-time high range, right? So anytime you're playing, your first instinct is to be bullish, right? Just because you're framing up on every single time frame. When you guys look at the weekly here, for instance, right? I mean, we've only had 2 red weeks since October, and these weeks are just printing higher highs. And if you're to, let's say, stop the framing up, we have to crack below, I believe it's like what, 60 something? That was the low. 62.5 or something like that. Well, I'm not trying to draw because they'll bring all the drawings back. So you're trying to, if you want the weekly to start framing down, they got to crack all the way below 62. So right now, is there a chance they can do that? But yeah, they're not framing up on the daily, on the weekly. They're not framing down on the daily. They just had this breakout. And then any other time frame, of course, if you look at monthly, everything's framing up. So a lot of people are in denial that this is a bullish market. This is a bullish market. You can be as hesitant as you want to be, and you want to short it, but you're not going to be in the game long. You're looking to buy the dips till market and auction slows down. And market's not slowing down at the moment. If you guys go back to your PVP, for instance, on the monthly time frames, and you look at it, let me just hide the drawings here. Hide drawings. You'll see now that the market's really not framing down. I'm sorry, not slowing down. This is your monthly profiles. And remember, how do you measure directional performance?
My volume, value area placement, and the width of the value area.
Yep. So when you think about the value area placement here, how's it going? Higher, higher, minimal overlap, higher, no overlap, right? They trapped some. And the minimal overlap here, nothing bearish, right? It's not like it's dipping below, right? Overlap, major overlap. So there's really no slowdown in the market right now. The value areas, I measured them this morning, are slowing down a little bit, meaning the placement or the width of the value areas is slowing down, right? So if you look here, you'll see that they're getting a little bit tighter, right? And what would that indicate? Why do we care?
Other time frame participants.
Exactly. So that's telling us the other big boys might not be as interested here right now, right? And I don't know what I just did. I just clicked too many Z's here. So that's correct. So it's telling us the market participants are still not in there, right? They might not be as aggressive as they were in the becoming on the start of the trend. Right now, they're there, but not as excessive as they used to be, right? So for me, those are the levels I would watch: 38.75, and I don't plan on trading NQ tomorrow or the day after. I would rather catch these short points on ES, and if it's slow, what I can do is I can place my order and walk away. Instead of staring at the paint dry, I can just place these orders and leave it alone and just go away. Especially if you see that it's a little choppy, and you see, for instance, when you zoom in on this volume, right, and it's picking up on the right, right, when you look at the VRVP, you see that they were happy trading here. When you see high volume node, they were happy, and now it's really, really important for the bulls to continue and defend this level if we do come back to 23. If we come back to 23, would you expect to see buyers?
Yes.
Yeah, you would hope so, right? And if they fail to do that, that means the acceptance is not above, and then you're most likely going to visit, I would say, the 60, 70, right? And this is your February value area high. And there, this level is pretty stacked. So think about logically, what would it mean if the bears were able to win this fight now and they crack this level? Well, I mean, there's quite a bit of a pullback then. Then you could potentially go all the way down to this where you have value area high and value area low, visit here, and this zone here where you have also the POC. So that's about 20 points difference. But you'll be targeting the opposite extreme here if we do crack that level. And that's the level for me that would turn a little bit of auction into sentiment change, meaning you're really, really bullish, and all of a sudden now everything is a little bit bearish, right? People are taking off their positions, if that makes sense. Okay, fairly simple plan here, or anyone confused?
One question, just in case we frame up, what is the next target?
So if I was to go off of the next targets, I'd probably use something like 4 hours here, and I'll show you what I'm targeting. We already hit one of the targets. I believe we're 7 points short of the first target on ES. It would be 58. So let me pull it up. I don't know why my computer's super slow here. Let me just delete this. I'm allergic to this brush when I see it on the chart. Okay, so if you look at this, right, I mean, we really don't have a lot of retracements that you can pull this from, but you have this little range that we are in. So if you grab your fibs and you can use the extension, you can grab this, or right to left, you could use something like this and look for the targets, right? Next set of targets. And we need to make sure that we are on extensions. Let's see. So you're looking at next one would be 74, and what is this? 5239. My initial one that I would like to first hit, because on NQ it worked pretty well, is this right here. It was the range low that we were targeting right here, and I think we might have hit it to a penny here. Yep. So this one was hit pretty nicely now. So then what you can do is use your fib extension. Does everybody know how to use those? The 3-point fib extensions?
No.
Okay, so if you want to use fib extensions, we're going to measure this point to this point and retrace to here. So if you go under fib extensions, you see this trend-based fib extensions. So we will start from the bottom, and we're going to hopefully lock in somewhere today here, and then we're going to pull back, and I meant to go right here. And then you'll have the next set of targets here, right? So your 50%, you see where we rejected, seem to be pretty good there. We hit the 50%,
Oh, that's nice.
pretty good, right? Right on the money. The next target would be 68. And then if they decide to run this, 15332 would be the next targets that you're looking. If you're to crack 68, you're going to see a rocket. Okay, now I can't get rid of this tool now. Okay, so that'll be the targets. The big boy targets are here. This one, crack this, we're flying. One could also add, if you need it, you can add 0.786 in between if you just are not comfortable with that many small amount of targets. So that'll be somewhere here, 51.95. So these will be the next targets I'm watching here.
Shorty, could you quickly go over SIGs?
SIGs?
Yeah.
I can, yeah.
Thank you.
Who's asking?
Somebody on YouTube.
Yeah, so let me hide a bunch of stuff. Let me go on NQ. We haven't been really in a bracket for a long time, so it's hard to find. Let's say SIG is this, right? So SIG is based on the bracketed markets, right? And right now, if you look at the bracketed markets, you draw your FVP on multi-day bracket or multi-week in this case. I think this would be monthly bracket. So it's based on this bell curve, right? You want to make sure that you understand how the deviations work. You have 68, 95, and 99. So what this is showing here, at this time, this was the first standard deviation right here. I think we had, so this one would be your first standard deviation positive skew. Then you have the negative skew, right? And then if you switch this to 95, right, now you would have the second standard deviation sitting right here for that range that you're in. And then you would mark this one as second standard deviation. And as long as I can keep marking them. But remember, this only works, and you want to know about this when it's really in a bracketed market, right? You could definitely look up standard, deviations on a trend, but you're better off using fibs than using that. Now, what you're paying attention to is the probabilities, right? What is the probability that when you're in a bullish market and you're balancing, that you're going to break the third sig here? They're very low, and you see where they're bouncing. They came here, they hit the third sig, they came second sig, and then they bounced really nicely here. So usually when the bracket comes in, whether it's 2 days or 3 days, you want to be 2+ days, 2+ weeks, anything more than one, right? In a bracketed market, you can draw these SIGs and see where are the potential extremes, because other time frame participants come in only when you have advantageous price, right? So when advantageous price is sitting in terms of bell curve, right? So the bell curve is doing this. Then you have your mean, then you have your first standard deviation, you have your second and a third, right? So as soon as you go away from the mean, usually you go back inside and you go back towards the fair price. And that's what these SIGs do.
And then just to be clear, I mean, I understand it, but you're using the 68 value area and then 98.
The 95,
Oh,
95 and
and
99, yeah.
99. Yeah. Okay,
That's
thank
correct.
you.
And that would be something like, let me see. So you're talking about, so this is basically the visual, I guess, that you're after right here.
Yeah, thank you.
So here's your first one, here's your second one, this is your mean, and then you see the 95.4 would be, you just can't do decimals and training view, and you see the SIGs now a little bit better.
Is the longer the time frame, the better. That seems
Longer
to.
the time frame, the more, the more buildup you have. It's almost like a balloon that never pops. The more air you put in it, and the more air you put in it, eventually when it pops, or you let it go, it's gonna fly further, right?
Gotcha.
So, okay, there's something interesting happening here on Friday, and I want to bring it up to you guys, whoever's using Flow for trading. I'm gonna leave it on the screen here for a moment. I want to see who can spot it. Okay, I'll zoom out a little bit, give you guys an idea of everything that happened here. So let's
I'm
see.
pretty sure I saw what you were looking at, but you moved it too quick.
Okay. At 11:30, something happened, and there was a clear sign that we're not going lower. Does anyone see what happened on this candle?
I mean, you have a completed auction.
Yep. And then
Like
you have a massive order coming
Bottom.
in here.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have a big order on the ask side.
And usually you get orders on the bid side when it's limit seller, but this guy was, you have to look at the left, right? You have to look at the context of what's happening. And the context here is telling you there's a lot of orders that were basically triggering this run up. And then when they came here, well, for a moment, they made it seem like, hey, aggressive sellers, but they basically pumped it from here. And now
Is
if
that-
you look,
Sorry, is that pre-market?
no, this is not, this is 11:30 Eastern.
Oh, okay.
Yep, no, they're running. And you see the volume is dying right here as you're selling. And then the volume picked up and Delta got eaten alive. Cumulative still at 8,200. Then they went higher, right? Had some completed auctions, some bracketing here, and then they popped. And then something happened here, which was really cool to see. I want to see who can spot it. Its focuses and these this box right here.
Is it the double POC at like 51.43ish, give or take?
51. This right here. Oh,
No,
I'm sorry.
Then I might not be looking at what you're looking at, but yeah.
Let's see if anyone can spot it.
$51.41.
What about it?
Lots of volume.
This is giant volume. That's correct. So that's first step that you should be seeing is here. If you zoom in here, there's a big fight here, right? There's a big fight here. You see the bid, you see the ask. It's really, really inflated, right? For 15 minutes, it's this high volume. And they're coming in here, right? We had a completed auction at the top, and then they spiked higher with the completed auction. Then they put in a lower low, they cleaned up this low, and you see that there was a seller here. Seller at the bid, right? And it seems like we put in a lower low. When you go up here, we have an incomplete auction on a candle that carried quite a bit of volume and a lot of delta selling. The next candle is really, really interesting. So now if you look at here, what's happening at the top here?
Completed auction and absorption.
Okay, and what would this indicate here on the ask side? 2,200 contracts here.
It looks like a big seller.
Big seller, right? And then that big seller initiates what?
Sell off.
He initiated the sell-off here. Poof, this candle right here, and a decent volume, right? And I think this is coming a little bit at 3 o'clock. Completed auction here, and this completed auction is met by, somebody said it earlier. Remember the level that you just mentioned, the 41, and then you had a lot of stuff going on this candle here. A lot of volume here, a lot of volume here. You know, 39,000 increase on volume, but also delta is growing. They came back and they defended this order, basically. They defended this area. And then you look at this guy. He started selling with the at the ask, right? 2 times. Here, 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 and then look where they brought it here at moments at, you know, at 345. They brought it back here. There was quite a few trapped buyers here. If you turn on your delta, I can actually do it here. There was a little bit of, you know, trapped buyers, and then look what they did right after hours from the same level where he's sitting. And now here's your data from so far, right? You haven't been able to come to this level close. So tomorrow, as they come to that 51.48.5, you want to monitor how's the orders coming in, right? Are they at the bid? Are they at the ask as we come in? There's a chance that tomorrow will be difficult to gauge this because if the orders are coming at the ask, they could trap a lot of people. Why is that?
People could think it's aggressive buyers, but they're actually limit sellers.
That's exactly it, because it's really, really tight. We revisit it unless we see, you know, and there's some buyers coming in here. I was looking for a long here. They're coming in. If they can push this up and overnight and gap, then clear, you know, clear and green light for higher. But right now there's a really persistent seller here, and let's see what happens. And then we said the 51.23 was fairly important, right? Because that was our previous breakout, correct?
Yeah.
So now pay attention to what happened at 51.23 here. Here's your 51.23, right? So if you guys put your level right here, pay attention to what's happening at the orders at 51.23. You guys see this massive fight that was happening here? I mean, the volumes are through the roof. And eventually, you know, the bulls won. There's a lot of initiation, some trapped sellers here, and you see how a little bit, and then you have the seller step in, and then they get squeezed again, and then they buy again. So there's a lot of short covering and a lot of weak sellers, right? Until you come all the way here to the top, then, you know, this is a massive volume here.
That's insane.
this is like, I haven't seen, this much lately. There's a lot of sellers right here. And now you see so far we have a completed auction here, right? So if you're to lose this, right? And you guys know from the TPOs that we just covered at 38.75 is the level that we are watching. So that is right here, right? Where the low is. So if they're able to crack this overnight, right? There's a high chance. If you look at this, right? There's not a lot of, there's nodes, right? But there's nothing that's like, oh my God, you're gonna bounce here and it's gonna be great. You're gonna run to the moon from there. So I would say, just pay attention to this tomorrow, because if we break that 48 tomorrow, there's a high chance, right, that they can just moon all the way to the 68 next target and then 95 and the higher. But ultimately, it wouldn't be bad if they tested 23 here, and just pay attention to this node here at 23. Look at the delta here sitting. And you see who's below? What would that tell you?
Sellers.
There's some trapped sellers here. They're hoping that, somebody, if you're short that many contracts, what do you have to do shortly after?
Cover.
You're going to cover. And then there's a lot of low volume, right? Skinny bellies pushing all the way up. So definitely watch, there's a lot of volume being released here. And if you guys look, it's almost like they're trying their best to push this, right? So if you're to increase the cluster size here, I'm sorry, the tick size a little bit, let's say put it on, for demonstration purposes, put it on 6. Look at the volume and the delta at the top.
Wow.
Right, this is pretty big, right? You have about, about 7,000 contracts here, another about 15, maybe 12,000 negative delta at the top, about 8 positive as well. So there's a ton of volume here. And then what you're looking for is, can they crack that 48 right at open and RTH, or hold it tomorrow, or lose 38 and go to 23? Okay.
I have a question, Shorty.
Mhm.
Do you ever look at the GEX or Gamma or Dark Pool?
I don't
block
care for
trade?
any of that.
Okay.
So if it's going to a dark pool, first of all, there's no way to tell the intent of that, right? They invented the
Okay,
dark
awesome.
pools just because they didn't want to. They said they don't want to disturb the market size, right? So they're gonna do stuff behind the closed doors, whether you like it or not. And if I had to add that piece to my equation when I'm trading, I would get probably paralysis from the analysis, right? I don't even look at that much news when I'm trading, right? I ask you guys what happened, right? I look at the data and I'm looking at the orders. I'm looking at the data that's being generated at that time, because that's what I care about. The stuff
Right.
that they're, telling us, there's a rocket launching from underneath the water, torpedoes and this and that. That's all bullshit when it comes to trading, right? Unless we get a nuclear war, and it's gonna, of course, be a black swan event, and those you'll never catch.
Right.
I've
Yeah,
never seen a
I-
person time it, right?
Because the TPO kind of shows the same thing anyways, just in a different way.
Yeah, and TPO.
More reliable.
So, if you're to listen to, let's say, Peter or somebody, Jim Dalton on a live session, everything can be hidden in the market besides volume, right? They can take away volume by going to those dark pools, but those participants are so big, right? There's thresholds they have to do on reporting, they have to do on those. They're massive, right? So if they're gonna do it through those dark pools, no, that's fine. But these trades that they're giving us with volume, they mean a lot, right? Because you take the retail and how much money they have, then they wouldn't try to get you as much if you weren't more important than those big boys. Those big boys are not going to trade between themselves. They need the short-term traders to provide the liquidity. They can do whatever they want on the outside, but if the retail was to stop trading, you would see how quickly this deteriorates, and the QE would start probably the next day.
Gotcha. Understood.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that'll be it. We still have a few spots open. If you guys are interested in joining, you're welcome to. I think we have 4 spots left. And and then we close it down for the month. Okay. All right, guys, I'll schedule the class for next week. We'll have a class covering footprints only. We covered the market profile last week. I think that was one of the better classes, the market profile. So if you haven't watched it, I suggest you guys do watch it. And then we're gonna do from the basically basics on volume profile the week after that. It's gonna be, you're a newbie and I wanna learn about volume profile. So I'll treat you as if you're my kiddo. And I'll break it down from the bottom to the top and then to more advanced. So that's going to be probably the longest session we'll have on volume profile, the beginners to the end. So plan on that from 2 weeks from now. And it's probably going to be 2.5 to 4 hours session. So,
You know what day possibly?
yeah. So next week we're doing footprints on the 9th. And then on the 16th, we're doing volume profile.
Awesome.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. See you guys tomorrow.
Thank you
Thanks,
very much.
Shorty.